see, I need, where is that? Like 50 grand in this fucking account. Let's see. To go here, I needed to get this going. Start broadcast finally.
Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all. Should I do this? Okay.
President Trump is not failing America's children. He is saving America's children with this action that he will take later today, directing Linda McMahon, our great Secretary of Education, to dismantle this federal bureaucracy that has taken more than $3 trillion from the American taxpayer since its inception in 1979. And what have we had as a result of that investment in our children's education? Declining test scores in reading, writing, and math. Proficiency levels at record lows.
According to a survey, the average smartphone user scrolls the equivalent of 78 miles a year. That's 3 marathons. Maybe good exercise for your finger, but there is evidence it may be hurting your brain. Meg Oliver has tonight's Eye on America.
Breaking news, and it involves future elections. New York State's highest court has struck down a controversial voting rights law. It allowed people who are not U.S. citizens to cast ballots in New York City's local elections. The Court of Appeals just released its decision following.
I'm in downtown LA, Skid Row, and I want to point out a few things that's gone on here in the past few years. In 2023, Gavin Newsom set aside $750 million to build tiny homes for people just like this that are surrounding by me. Somehow that money's gone. In 2019, they set aside $24 billion to go towards the homeless. Somehow that money's gone. It's unaccounted for. I want to talk about a few politicians from here. One is Nancy Pelosi. She's been serving these people since 2007. Her net worth is over $120 million. Another person here, Maxine Waters, she's been serving the people here in California since 1990. Her net worth is over $10 million. And Gavin Newsom, who knows what his net worth is, but we know he is building a $9 million home in San Francisco, California. Their leaders, the leaders of California, they failed these people here.
This, white women with at least a college degree, the only group of white voters that really kind of is on the left politically, aligned with progressive causes, democratic politics. Give you an example here. It's that DEI question, right here, that we asked about in our poll. We had 2 big statements we read to voters. Basically, do you want to continue DEI programs, or do you think they should be ended? And again, look at this divide here. White men, no degree, end it. White men with a degree, end it, they say. White women, no degree, end it, they say, by double digits. And then white women with a college degree, completely different by a nearly 40-point margin, they say, to continue DEI. So
he should have to address the market, and he acknowledged there are challenges ahead.
I'll start with the biggest question. Why has it taken this long?
California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara in the hot seat in front of the State Assembly's Insurance Committee.
The Camp Fire was in 2018. Okay, the year before that, we had the Sonoma North Bay fires. Right. So my frustration is with the lack of real urgent action, and only now are we finally getting these regulations.
Could I have moved quicker? Absolutely, but at the fear that I might lose this in court over process.
Lara's new
COVID was a terrible time for us. And as you know, because I was on your show a lot and other shows, I wanted schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020. The issue was the fear and the issue was the safety issues. But COVID has really hurt in so many ways. But this has been a Republican talking point for a long time.
Our music comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5 or close to it. Evil FB Network, Rumble X, even YouTube, I believe, at this time. You will never believe. Hey, we're on 3 days or so in a row. What a miracle. We usually go on a month and then they keep us off for 3 months. I don't know why. They've got issues over there. Donald J. Trump signed the executive order finally putting in the place to eliminate the evil Department of Education, started in 1979 by the odious Jimmy Carter. Reagan campaigned in 80, got elected president, couldn't get rid of the damn thing. Donald J. signed the executive order of that. Now, it appears Congress will have to be the final one to abolish it totally, but that thing needs to go. You heard Randy Weingarten, that witch that all you teachers bow down to. You finance her, she represents you. It just drives me nuts that people keep saying teachers union. It is not teachers unions. It is teachers that are doing this. Teachers that are suppressing free speech. As Caroline Leavitt said in that opening on Fox, teachers are making your kids stupid. There's some good teachers out there. Overall, they have been failing for decades, ever since the Department of Education. Education has went down. We've had the charts 94,000 gazillion million times since the 70s. It started actually before the Department of Education. So when they said, oh, we got to do something, Department of Education, federal, we're going to make everything right. Oh, there's the downtrodden, we got to help them out. Education has gotten worse. Student achievement has gotten worse. Schools have gotten worse. Salaries of teachers and administrators and the amount of employees has grown 152 million gazillion times. Failure in the state of California from that in 72, 50 years ago, or a little over that. Prorated for inflation, teachers are making twice as much. With less achievement, with less student achievement, less student competence, killing future generations and condemning them to rates of poverty probably never seen before in any of our lifetimes. That's the plot deal. I get tired of people. When are especially men going to have some guts and tell it like it is? It is not teachers' unions. They pay teachers $30,000 or $50,000 and pay that witch, Randy Weingarten, to represent them. And now she's trying to say, oh, well, we didn't have COVID and everything. We'll have the deal. 2 years ago, we had the deal. I'll have to see if I can dig it out. On the show 2 years ago, a couple of days, 2 years ago and today. Teachers refused to go into the classrooms across this country unless they got pay raises over COVID. Wasn't about the kids or that. Hey, they were having a hell of a time. Getting paid, chuck it in, don't even have to drive to work. Yeah, do a video conference once in a while or whatever. Oh, yeah. They were mailing it in. And And the teachers that are not need to start speaking up. Those stupid cell phones, not away from, especially away from the adults, but especially away from the kids. It's rotting their brains. That's not just coming from me. That's from CBS News. We'll run the report here in a little bit. Couldn't be prouder of Donald J. And like they said, nobody runs. Nobody in the television era, even Ronald Reagan, who was an actor, for crying out loud. Well, you'd say Trump. Well, he had his own TV show. But I mean, Reagan did movies and everything else. Jack Kennedy, the first TV president, really. Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, the Messiah. Nobody puts on a production. Nobody plays to the camera, whether you like him or not, than Donald J. Trump. The backdrops of the stuff and everything they put together, they did during the campaign in 2024. And as he's done as president, have been up over the charts of anything anybody's ever done. Dan Turrentine said that on his X feed today, the big-time Democrat operative consultant employee, been around a long time on two-way with Halpern and Spicer. He said, he even said by far, Trump understands the media, the backdrops, the way to make a presentation better by far than any president we've had to date of the 47 individuals that have done that. Well, you got to figure back, 37 was Kennedy. Kennedy was basically the Eisenhower's on TV a little bit and Truman, but TV really wasn't that. I'd say Jack Kennedy was the first television elected candidate because the debate with Nixon and all that, story for a different day. Jack Kennedy was the first president that got elected through using the television broadcast media, the picture. Because, you put Kennedy, Nixon over here in a picture. I mean, who's gonna attract the attention? You look at old crunch old man versus vibrant Jack Kennedy, young guy, beautiful wife, two very cute little kids, boy and a girl. I mean, Nixon didn't have a chance. Would he have Pat and Julie or whatever? Not to denigrate him though, but just from a standpoint of that. And Jack Kennedy he was a good orator and played the camera very well, not only from the looks, but the delivery and stuff. And then we progress up from there. We really didn't get from that time, you take Johnson wasn't that good at the TV, nor was Nixon that great, or Ford, until you got to Reagan, and then it really exploded. Poppy Bush wasn't that great. Clinton was very good. George W. was, in a folksy way, was pretty good himself. So, and Barack Obama, for whatever reason, but everybody, I don't get the whole Obama worship, and he does get, he reads off the teleprompter well, I will tell him that. But if you get him off the teleprompter, he's not that good. Then you had Trump 16, which really upset the apple cart, and then Joe Biden. We don't even have to discuss that. Now Trump 2.0 has just got it. He's got it whipped as far as presentation. And of the Monday through Friday, I don't think he's missed one in 60 days now or so? 2 months? I don't think he's missed a Monday through Friday where he hasn't made some sort of public appearance, answered questions from the press, was available to the public. The public knows what he's doing, what he's thinking, and he even said today, I've got an agreement with Zelensky on the minerals. Looks like they're moving forward with Putin. It's probably going to take, and these things will take longer than you think. You know, Putin's holding a lot of cards. Biggest nuclear arsenal in the world. Plus, Russia probably has, overall as a country, probably has more minerals and natural resources than anyone, whether it's rare earth minerals, whether it's oil and gas combination. They probably, as a country as a whole, they probably got the most natural resources of anyone. That's why Ukraine is rich in them, because they're, like right next to that, kind of basically the same region. Really, Russia, that was part of the Soviet Union, but that's, again, another story for a different day. We could spend hours on that. One thing I wanted to pop up here quick from, why did everything go blank again on all my computer screens of that? Let's see here. No, it's, see if I can pop up. See if I can pop up. There we go. Get the right one going here. Mark Mitchell, Rasmussen reports, head pollster. Double oof. This even surprised him. Massive majority approves of Trump nullifying Biden pardons. Blows my mind, says Mark Mitchell, head pollster of Rasmussen reports. That goes along with the deal of getting rid of the Tren de la Agra gangs down to Venezuela and the judge having a hissy fit about it. The people want a sane society, a competent society, and when they saw a society and they lived in a society that worked, they don't want to go backwards. They don't want a stupid president. They don't want people convincing them that a guy that has not got the mental faculties to be president was, in fact, had the mental capacity to do it. It's not mind-boggling, and it really doesn't blow my mind. Like we're going to, hopefully, if we don't get it to today, we'll get to it tomorrow. Almost 50% of the people now are saying they may vote for a Republican for governor in California, of all places.
According to a survey, the average smartphone user scrolls the equivalent
We
of
know that. We ran that on the. We'll get to you
78
in a second. See, there he goes again. Boy, this stuff is just absolutely. But people want competence. They don't want. They know. Is that we're gonna hopefully we'll get to the gas prices. All those charts I was showing you for years, saying this is where you're getting hosed, or the refineries are charging twice as much. It's getting laundered back through AB 32 to the California government, and that's why you're paying extraordinarily high gas prices, diesel prices, natural gas prices in California. A USC professor is now finally confirming what I have been saying and what I've been charting on the show for 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years, however long it's been. Finally, we're getting Doge, getting all the exposure there. The insurance crisis in California, That's getting exposed. The high gas, electricity prices, getting exposed. That's what's in a small regard lets us see that light at the end of the tunnel. That gives us a slight amount of hope. Yes, each and every day we run these challenges, but we're going to overcome them, because when CBS News is running this, me, other Dr. Gene Twenge, Dr. Kelly Victory, which we'll have in a little bit, and many others we've had on the show have been saying, adults too, but especially, don't let your kids, probably shouldn't even have a cell phone, and if they do, severely restrict the usage of it. Again, this is not Roy. This is CBS News, for crying out loud. Here we go.
This, according to a survey, the average smartphone user scrolls the equivalent of 78 miles a year. That's 3 marathons. It may be good exercise for your finger, but there is evidence it may be hurting your brain. Meg Oliver has tonight's Eye on America.
Katie Page Rosenberg, a freshman at the University of North Carolina, Asheville.
2 successes, 2 failures.
Recently realized what too much scrolling was doing to her.
How many hours were you spending on your phone?
Oh God, probably like 9.
9 hours?
I was just kind of constantly on it.
You may have heard stories like hers before.
9 hours a day. That's a full-time job with lunch figured in there. 8 hours, plus if you took an hour for lunch. That's a full-time job. College freshman. Went through K through probably 12. Who knows when she got the cell phone? Probably at 10, 12, maybe 13. So at least 6, 7, 8 years. 9 hours a day. Couldn't concentrate. Getting into college at a major university, and you don't know boo. No wonder we're getting rid of we should have gotten rid of the Department of Education. We have made a mockery of everything. More from the CBS News report.
I wasn't able to focus because I would have to take out my phone every couple of minutes.
But now you can actually see the science behind it.
Smartphones have wide-reaching changes all over the brain, and specifically it grows here and it shrinks there.
Psychiatrist Brent Nelson is applying this new science at Newport Healthcare, which has mental health treatment centers for teens across the country.
This is a brain that's addicted to a smartphone.
These are MRI images from a recent study in Korea. All the red indicates increases in brain activity, the effects of smartphone addiction.
Do you want your brain to be this colorful?
You don't.
Why?
Well, because this is showing where the brain is working extra hard compared to a non-addicted brain when asked to do actually a pretty simple task.
Addicted.
So what you're doing by using a cell phone is it's making your brain work so fast it's wearing it out. You know, your brain's like I could see that we're going to have dementia and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. We're going to have report cancers, very aggressive cancers that used to show up in people 60, 70, 80 years old are now 20, 30, 40. It's because that's what this idiotic device was built to do. To stimulate your brain, to manipulate you, to keep you at such a frenzy you don't know what to do. So you got to, oh, it's my friend took, or oh, I got to get the answer here, or oh, please tell me what to do. I don't know. I can't do it. Should I cross the street? or, it does say walk on the sign to go across the street, but I don't know if I should. That's what this thing does to your brain. It rots the living heck out of it. Get away from it.
Smartphone users' brains were so colorful, so active, it made them less attentive and more easily distracted. What's now informally called brain rot.
What does that look like in real life?
Yeah, let's take school, for example. You're sitting in class and you're trying to focus. They're going to be looking around, not attending to what the teacher is trying to teach them.
Dr. Nelson says emerging research points to even greater risks.
We're just starting to see these changes, and we know they're connected to behavioral changes, depression.
So you can't, in school, what do you think you're doing at work? Why do you think that employers are constantly saying, get these new kids or new or young adults in there, Xers, Zers, millennials or whatever, and we're probably not Xers as much, but millennials, Zers that have been raised on this stupid thing. They can't concentrate. You can't get them to show up. They're like, well, it's because their brains actually constantly are going on, as you can see by the colors. That's the activity. It's like you're going down the freeway at full throttle at 120 mile an hour, whatever your car will do. Well, yeah, you can do that for a while, but you're not going to go very far because the car's going to wear out pretty fast. You drive at 60 or 70 normal pace, car will last 10, 20, sometimes 30 years. You can get 300,000 miles out of them now without batting an eye. Toyota's famous for that. But you're hammered down a race car. That's why they're very expensive, and you're always constantly rebuilding the engines and the car and this and that because you're pushing it all the time. Your brain works the same way. Your body works the same way. You work the same way. But this is why people cannot, especially the younger they get, they can't concentrate. They can't work in school. Then when they get out of school, they can't do a job. Not that they can't, not as efficiently as it was with a person with a normal functioning brain. Pre-cell phone.
Anxiety, the dangers are hiding in there.
Social media had really influenced me in a lot of ways. TikTok would kind of push these videos of people popping an edible before school, and I was like, if I do this, maybe I'll be cool, and I started self-medicating.
To deal with that, last year she checked into a treatment facility.
If you hadn't gone to treatment, where would you be today?
I don't think I'd be here. It was really bad.
So she got wound up so tight, and that's it. You're on a constant stimulation tour on your brain. You got to do something to bring it down, else you'll be up like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and eventually you'll have a heart attack or something, or go crazy, like she said. When your brain's going and you can't control it, or you can't get away from the cell phone, and you can't take the stimulation away, well, then you take drugs to try and bring you down. Now you're in the toilet, but you're swirling down the toilet bowl, as she said, fast. And she said if she wouldn't have got off the drugs, she probably wouldn't have been here. She's only 19. Future ahead of her, family, children, whatever. Career, whatever path she wanted to go, but whichever path. I mean, basically entering the early part of adulthood where you're making those decisions or where, shaping your future, and she's like wigged out, all because of the cell phone.
Katie had to give up her phone in treatment. There, she found other outlets, from drawing to playing guitar, that helped rewire her Gen Z brain.
When we're
The key, perhaps, analog anecdotes reminiscent of another generation.
Playing in the dirt, drinking from the hose, sort of the Gen X kind of mentality, is shown to actually allow folks to recover, to feel better, to make it.
The psychiatrist, playing in the dirt, drinking out of the hose. All of us as boomers and Xers all get castigated about, oh, you just, okay, boomer, the whole thing. Which I get it, that's a generational thing. But there's a psychologist telling you, that's why, or generations before us, the greatest generation going back to 1776 or wherever, that's how we got to where the point of where you could have a cell phone. And it's taken your life away. These things are as dangerous as any drug or anything else. They might not kill you like a fentanyl, like an OD on a fentanyl pill or heroin or something, but they will slowly destroy your life. Or in that case of that young lady, maybe fairly quickly.
Easier to kind of go about their day.
In short, it's good to stop scrolling and start strumming. For Eye in America, I'm Meg Oliver in Asheville.
Actually, she sounds like she's got a very pretty voice. And I'm glad, playing the guitar, started to learn how to draw. They took the cell phone away from her, 19 years old, took it away. Now she's much happier. Her brain's not going. Music has a calming effect. So does doing art and drawing. Used to do it a lot when I was in school just to try to pass the time of day from the wah, 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 wah. Story for a different day. But this story right there, see, again, this is not Roy talking. Okay, dumb white hillbilly, 6th grade educated from Edgemont, don't know what he's talking about. Okay, got it. Why don't you argue with a psychologist or establishment media Meg Oliver from CBS News is backing what I have been saying for a gazillion years. You could just watch the reaction of people when they're doing this. It's really sad. It's really sad to watch peeps do that and go through it. Because we all have this, I don't know, mentality. Anything. It's all very, very, very interesting of how all this shakes out. I don't know how much of that got it. I can see my my lovely. We went off on Facebook and Rumble. I think X stayed with us. which is good. But no, you've got, it's a very, very, very tenuous situation of this thing we call life. And just be aware when people or try to addict you to these things, or we say stuff like that, make sure you take a little time and really, really think about what's going on. Want to get to this one. New study, this is from Katie Grimes, California Globe. New study, California high gas prices and supply demands are self-inflicted. California's oil and gas industry contributes $166 billion of economic activity to California's gross state product. A new study by USC professor Michael Mache found that factors which have contributed to California's high gasoline prices over 50 years are self-imposed by state officials and politicians. It turns out California is its own worst enemy. How many times have we said, and we've run the whiteboards up here, and we've showed you 75 cents a gallon refined to take a barrel of oil that comes into the port or piped in to the refineries, the few left that are down the South Bay area, SoCal of LA, turned into gas or diesel, 75 cents a gallon for the rest of the country. $1.50 here. 75 cents out of the same refineries that are shipping gas from South Bay, SoCal to Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. We're getting charged $1.50 in California for the same stuff. Now, the California blend only costs about 10 to 15 cents more to refine than the blend they're sending to Arizona, Utah, or Nevada. I said, just part of AB 52. That's going back to the state of California. I said half of the gas price that you're paying right now in California, or give or take a few percentages, is going to various government agencies, whether it's your state, local, or federal government. They're taking half. Everybody's like, I said, look, here's the statistics from the state website of how this goes. Now, where did the money go? The refiners are not pocketing it. As part of this carbon credits, AB 32, pull the money around. More from the article. Today, I paid $5.15 per gallon of gas in Sacramento. Well, AAA national average is $3.07 in Texas. Today, a gallon of gas will cost you $2.45 to $3.40 to $3.29. The averages in Texas is $2.68. $3 a gallon nationwide. Texas is $2.68. I bet you Oklahoma's about $2 a gallon. They're usually the cheapest. As Professor Mache notes in his study, since January of 1995 through January 20th, 2025, which is 30 years for those of you in Adelanto, California, Californians have been paying an average of 13% more for their gasoline than the rest of the nation. Not surprisingly, the average price of retail gasoline in California on March 11th, 25th was $4.69 a gallon, or 52% higher per gallon than the nation than the formulations that the national average prices of as of 30801 according to AAA. 50%. We're up to 50%. It's averaged 13% more for 30 years. Now at 13% more, okay, you know, things are more expensive in California. Not that you would grumble about that, but that could be somewhat, slightly justified. 50% is not. That's that 75-cent a gallon surcharge that the refiners are passing back to the state or federal government or cities and counties, probably all three at some point, mostly to the state of California. They're kicking that back. They're not making it. They're not making any more per gallon. They're probably making about 7 or 8, 10 cents a gallon for refining it. By the time they pay all the expenses and everything, they're lucky if they're making 7 or 8 cents a gallon. The state of California, federal government's making 75 cents for absolutely doing nothing, except pointing a gun at the refiner and saying, if you don't give us the money, you're going to jail. It's no secret that California is its own worst enemy. There have been articles exposing this for decades, and now we have 50 years of irrefutable data thanks to Professor Miche. Oil and gas and California refiners have not engaged in widespread price gouging, profiteering, price manipulation, unexplained residual prices, or surcharges, magical or otherwise. All the caterwauling, Gavin Newsom and his commissions and whatevers and 2-4s, was absolutely total balderdash. 111% balderdash. However, Governor Gavin Newsom, who's currently preoccupied with new vanity podcasts, may want to consider talking to oil and gas officials, something he's failed to do in the 6 years as governor. Oh, but he's giving them all burner phones and executives, so why are you leaving? We're probably going to be down to 9 oil and gas refineries by the end of 26. Another one just announced they're probably pulling out by the end of 26. Phillips 66, Chevron are threatening to leave. That's going to get you to 10. If the other one pops, we're going to be at 9. We used to have I think close to 60 back 30 years ago in 1995 when we were still paying 13% more. There's no excuse for Newsom's negligence, an industry which is an economic powerhouse for the state, providing hundreds of thousands of jobs. Here's the X post by Ding Dong. California is proof that tackling climate change does not have to come at the expense of our growing economy. We are continuing to lead in clean energy while creating jobs, driving innovation, and attracting investment for the substantial future. He's hosing us under the ground. The report found across California, the oil and gas industry supports almost 37,000 jobs, generates $53 billion in labor income, and contributes $165 billion to economic activity. Additionally, it generates $48 billion in state and local taxes and $16 billion in federal taxes. $63 billion, state and federal taxes. Biggest, Chevron used to be the biggest company here. They're bailing out. The primary conclusion, Mr. Mache says, the study is California's high gas prices and supply delimitations are by design, engineering, and superintendentally, or however you say that, largely self-inflicted, and the result of directed policies by a litany of regulations, taxes, fees, costs. Economic evidence is abundant. California refiners have not engaged in widespread price gouging, profiteering, price manipulation, unexplained residual prices or surcharges or magical or otherwise. The Golden State's gasoline price dilemma is the result of a complex interactions of regulatory and political policies and subsidies of refinery operations and global oil prices in the state-centric supply and demand, specifically California. High gasoline prices can be attributed to aggressive environmental policies, AB 32 and all the other stuff. Oh, we're all going to die of diesel smoke. Costly reporting and compliance to regulations and environmental stuff. Same crap. In-state business general operating and refinery costs, which are up the kazoo. There's your 75 cents a gallon extra that's getting kicked back to the state. Declining in-state and oil production. We're only down to doing 25%. Back in 95, I think we were at 95% of our oil we built here. The refinery capacity decreasing, increasing higher taxes, general disincentives associated with Newsom's mandate of CARB and all that other crap, like the 65 cents a gallon and all that they're trying to get rid of. According to the Legislative Analyst's Office, greenhouse emissions policies have contributed to the second highest monthly electric rates for residential service in here. It goes on and on. Here it is in 82, California imported 5.6% of the crude oil from foreign sources. In 24, the Golden State imported 61% of its oil from foreign sources, largely because of open hostility of Newsom's administration, determined lawmakers like Senator Scott Wiener and the whole crew, Corey Jackson, Isaac Bryan, Reggie Jones Sawyer. Here's the one from Kate Sanchez. Well, let's run it up on the big screen. Oops. Expect California gas prices to skyrocket and more refineries to shut down as Sacramento doubles down on the agenda to exterminate affordability and make middle-class life impossible. Another refinery in California will shutter its refinery this year because of CARB rules and regulations. Emily Hoven, the great San Francisco Chronicle reporter, new California State Auditor report finds taxpayer-funded energy efficiency programs run by utilities typically do not achieve energy savings goals, and they rarely cost-effective, which has enabled by lackluster oversight from California Public Utilities Commission. When do we ever learn? Electricity, natural gas, gasoline, diesel. That's what makes your economy run. You have to have energy, or we'll all be living in a cave. Well, maybe 2 or 3% of us, because if we don't have energy, most of the 350 billion people in the U.S., 8 billion people in the world, without energy, is very difficult to survive. That's why back in the Neanderthal days, there were very few population across the world. Energy determines in our society in the last 200 years worldwide, hands down, number one determinant of how prosperous your society and your quality of life is going to be. Period. End of freaking story. I don't know what it's going to take to get people's attention. But somewhere it better. Or we're all going to lose this stuff. Thank goodness we got Trump. Thank goodness we got this. And again, I'm not necessarily the biggest Republican fan. But let's hope this happens. Republican Revolution hitting California. New polling release shows voters across California are feeling what is being called the Trump effect, rejecting years of Democratic policies. Nearly half of likely California voters say they would consider voting for a Republican for governor in 2026. Republican Party registration in California is just 25%. Polling was conducted by in California over March 6th to 9th of likely voters for 2026 by David Wilson, a national pollster and faculty lecturer at Columbia University. He's a political analyst graduate. Other stunning facts show California Democratic leaders are out of touch. 83% said gas prices are too high in California. Duh, they're 50% higher than the national average, highest in the nation. Higher than Hawaii, which they buy it from us and go by ship another 2,500 miles. They have no refineries, no oil, no nothing in Hawaii. They buy all their gas and diesel from California, from Southern California or Northern California. That's it. They come out of the same damn refinery. 72% feel homelessness is still a big problem after years of Democratic control in Sacramento. You see why Newsom's changing his tune, did a 180 on everything. And he's trying to moderate the radical nuts, the majority, the supermajority of them, like Asali, Sanchez, Castillo.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
Every day. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling of what's going on. Hopefully this holds. If this holds, we got a fighting chance. We got a fighting chance to turn this thing around. You'll see amazing turnarounds in 2 years, not only nationally, but the state of California.
5 seconds. Here we go.
This trend continues. As Jesse said, we'll be hitting the Mighty Met KMET here in a very few.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band, showing a vast video audience of the Evil Hippie Network, Rumble, X, YouTube, I don't know. It all crashed here about the first, I don't know. I think X stayed the whole thing, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure Facebook and Rumble crashed because I did have to restart them. It did look like X and maybe YouTube stayed with us, so I don't know. You get all these funky nice. little electronic problems. And I'm sure Jesse and or Sean will back me up on that 1,111% on that. They can drive you absolutely nuts. Donald J. Trump put into motion the destruction, killing of the Department of Education that has been making idiots out of our kids. The exact thing that was in when Carter started it, student achievement in the toilet. It's about time we need to reform that. And please, it's not teachers' unions, it's teachers. Unions cannot do anything. They cannot say anything. They cannot make a policy. They cannot pass a law. They cannot raise a salary. They cannot tell the government to sick the full force of it on people like Roy and others that go and talk at our public meetings as our constitutional rights. We had the CBS News report that showed how a cell phone is rotting your brain. I kid you not. They got the scientific, follow the science. The activity, what you're doing is, it's like driving when you're looking at a cell phone, it's like driving your car with the throttle down all the way. Well, you know, you might get there fast, but eventually the car's going to wear out very quickly. You drive it normally, you'll get 100, 200, 300,000 if you're driving a Toyota in most cases. You run it full throttle all the time as hard as it go, and it's going to be junk in 1,000 miles. A young lady that did that they showed that freshman in college. Freshman in college was almost going to kill herself over the cell phone. It was driving her nuts. Had to medicate to get her down because it was running her so good. Finally, they took the cell phone away from her. She learned to play the guitar, draw, back to a normal, functioning human being. It's going to be one of the most, just like the cancer rate, just like is exploding in younger people, aggressive cancers that were only seen in people mostly 60, 70, 80 years old are now showing up in people 20, 30, and 40. It's horrific, really. It's horrific what we're doing to ourselves. But we should, and hopefully we will turn this stuff around, like the Department of Education, everything else that's happening. Who knows? We have some very interesting developments. We're waiting for Dr. Kelly to call in or see what she's doing. Maybe she forgot because it's a Thursday. If not, we'll pick up on the gas deal. A Dr. Mache from University of Student Criminals, University of Southern California, USC down in SoCal, just came out with a study on oil and gas prices. And we've heard Gavin Newsom accusing, the oil companies are gouging and this is why the price is so high in California. Yeah. Dr. Mache from University of Southern California said, BS. It's all because of rules and regulations and AB 32 and all the crap that our radical governors and legislatures, and we're all going to, California Air Resources Board, CARB, we're all going to die of diesel smoke. And Mary Nichols, that evil witch, the car building in Riverside's named after. She started this crap in 1972 in Riverside, frickin' California. And I will attest to it because I was here, going to school. You know, you'd look out there and look like the London fog. Oh, we're all going to die of diesel smoke and this and clean air and all that. She eventually got to the California Air Resources Board heroine running the show. And voila. About 10 years ago now, somewhere in there, she comes out with what I call we're all going to die from diesel smoke. Oh, if we don't do this, everybody's going to die. We're all going to die of lung cancer. We can't, no more diesel cars, no gas cars. We got to, you better start learning to walk or ride a bicycle, or we're all going to die. They found out the report was made by a guy who didn't have any credentials in doing it. And they said if you took every, and it was mainly focused on diesel, if you took every diesel-powered bus, truck, tractor, generator, anything that was running on diesel fuel, and you ran them 24/7, 365, you couldn't even come close to the amount of pollution that they were trying to say was being created in California. But they said, we don't care. We want to do that. We want to pass all these rules and regulations. So now you're paying 50% more, as the study said today. Basically $3 a gallon, round numbers, nationwide average, $4.50 in California right now. And he said it's all that stuff Newsom's been saying is total malarkey, BS. It's all because of state regulations. For all of you that thought I was crazy. For Jesse, who probably wanted to turn off slammed his headphones down and said, what is that crazy clown talking about? When I was running down the prices and I said, look at this, just twice as much. Same refinery in SoCal, 75 cents a gallon. In Torrance, California, that's shipping the gas and refining it for 75 cents a gallon and shipping it to Arizona and Utah and Nevada. And we're paying $1.50. That's where the money is. I said 50% of what you're paying on a gallon of gas is going to some government that did absolutely nothing. Every person, from the wildcatter that found it and drilled for the oil and got it out of the ground, to the truck driver that delivered it, to the pipeline that delivered it to the refinery, to the refiners that refined it, to the pipeline or the truck that got it to the tank farm, from the tank farm to the gas station, to the gas station that you put your money in to fill up your tank, to go to work or take your kids to Disneyland or what the hell ever. Government who did absolutely nothing is making exactly the same amount as everybody that put that gallon of gas in your car. I hope you think about that. I hope you get off the cell phone, calm your brain down, and digest this of how you're getting screwed, blued, and tattooed. This is why you have too much month at the end of the money. I don't know. I've had officials. I've written to Sacramento. I've went to the County Board of Supervisors, our city, everything, and said, hey, why don't you guys ask this? Victor Manuel Perez, who's president of the Riverside County Board of Supervisors, is also on the CARB and voted for that 65 cent a gallon gas that they're trying to, the Newsom's trying to get that out. The legislature's trying to keep it going, so it might go back over $5 a gallon if the Scott Wieners and Corey Jacksons, Isaac Bryan, Reggie Jones Sawyer and all that stuff, complete nuts, have their way, it'll go though. If they get that 65 cent a gallon surcharge back on there, Victor voted for that. Victor Manuel Perez, 4th District Supervisor. All you poor Coachella Indio that he says he's supporting you, and you're up there saying, oh, the illegal immigrants and all that. He is screwing you up one end and down the other, because more of a percentage of your income's going to pay that $4.50 a gallon versus you should be paying $3 or less is coming out of your pocket. The natural gas bill, the grocery bill, the every other thing, ice cream at Dairy Queen or whatever. All of that, everything runs on energy. That price permeates through every freaking thing you buy. Too many people, especially in California, have been sticking their heads in the ground. I bet you won't stick your head in the ground if we continue on this trajectory when there's no electricity. Because it takes electricity to run and scroll or look at that or watch the movies you're watching. It takes gasoline to put in your car to go to work, to earn the money, to pay all the bills, to eat and do all this other stuff. If you stick your head in the sand and don't do anything or don't say anything or think somebody else is going to do it, I can guarantee you this. One day, that somebody's not going to be here on the top side of the grass. And it's going to be your ball game. And if you burnt your brain out on drugs or cell phones or whatever, at the drag queen show, at the tranny deal, or whatever the hell you're doing, when things crash, it ain't pretty. So I hope, and I think it's gotten a lot of people's attention. Because we started on this just before we came on. And this was posted on the KABC website, Republican Revolution Hitting California. We'll read it again. The new polling released Thursday shows voters across California are feeling what is being called the Trump effect, rejecting years of Democratic policies. Nearly half of likely voters say they would consider voting Republican for governor in 2026. Right now, and they've raised it. I think in the last 6 years, they've added 1 million. They were about 4.7 million. They're about 5.7 million now. But they're just, Republicans are only 25%. I think it's like 48% Democrat off the top of my head, about 30% no party preference, about 25 Republican now. And the first thing, 83% of the voters, 83% of the voters said gas prices in California are too high. Top of the line. Well, that doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out. when you're paying 50% more in California than the nationwide average, highest gas prices in the nation. We should be the cheapest. We have enough oil in the frickin' ground. Under California, we do not have to import one drop. They say we're importing 60%. I think it's high. I've heard as high as 75%. We were only 35 years ago, we were only importing 5% of the oil we were using in California. Now the vast majority of it, and sinking every year. And then we're getting rid of the refiners. What happens when there are no gasoline or diesel refiners in California? "73% fully support funding anti-crime Prop 36. 72% feel homelessness are a big problem after years of the communists controlling Sacramento. Not controlling, super duper majority. They got like 80% of both the House and the Senate. Unprecedented. I think unprecedented in American history. 71% believe that the communist Democrats in charge have not addressed the state's high cost of living. Duh. 69% think Democrats in Sacramento have not done enough to bring down energy and utility costs. 62% support a full independent investigation into the wildfires. I think that surprised me. I figured that'd be like 111%. Only 24% of Californians think males, transgender, trannies should compete in female sports. They are doing exactly the opposite of what the vast, I could just tell you could average all those numbers out. And you're well over 70%. The California legislature and governor are on the wrong side of the California people. Now, how the hell we got to this point? And that's because people don't pay attention. Oh, teachers union, not teachers union, teachers, cops, firefighters, tell you to vote Democratic because they're going to raise their salaries because they provided $400+ million of campaign contributions to said politicians. This is why Trump is eliminating the Department of Education and why it has ruined your kids' education and making them dummies. Because you, the majority of us, and all of us have not paid enough attention. I guess I got to turn up the volume some more. Maybe I got to stand in the street corner with a bullhorn or something, like the crazies do. Because all this, you talk too loud. Well, for once, why don't you follow the old adage? If at first you don't succeed, try doing it how Roy told you to do it the first time. Because I've been pointing out, and I said, please come in here, sit in the seat, and point out where my analysis, what I predicted, was not 111% accurate. You can ask Jesse that too. See how successful you are when you try to challenge what I say. Ask Victor Manuel Perez, president of the Riverside County Board of Supervisors, or any of the others around here. Look at it. It's just stamped with a professor, researcher from the University of Southern California, just came out and stamped what I've been telling you about energy, gas, and diesel prices for decades. I can tell you it wasn't that hard because I was able to figure it out. And I got about as least amount of formal education as anyone. So all these clock artists run around or do all this stuff. When I say this is rotting your brain, go look at the CBS News report. And that's the word they didn't start out with it, but they got in the middle of the story that we ran earlier. Says, cell phone is rotting your brain. They have the science to back that up, the real science. Sometimes you just need to back up, like I say, and fly at 80,000 feet and take an overall view, an unbiased view. Clear your head and just honestly make a honest assessment of what's going on. Then you may get to the point. Then you can get to the point of where you can turn this stuff around. Look at the polling here. This is like a massive turnaround. Trump effect in California. Hopefully Congress will completely shut down the Department of Education. Doge and Trump will make the cuts. I think they should not have done the credit card extension, but hey, we are where we are. California is on the precipice of getting back to the once great state, the golden state it once was. There's optimistic signs, but that just means we've got to dig harder, work smarter, and you will be amazed getting in this boat and rowing in the same direction. I've been talking about standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, and the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota and Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't Bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to patriotswitch.com. If you need a new Subaru or Toyota, go to Winnicliff Coming straight dealerships at San Bernardino Auto Mall at the 10 to 15 freeways. Don't forget I-10 Toyota down in the lower desert. Oh, what a day on a practice Friday. Hope everyone had a great and glorious day. Absolutely Chamber of Commerce weather in SoCal today, which we all, and it's supposed to be that way for a while now. So, you know, we got to turn the state around. It's the engine that's going to, not only drives the United States, it can drive the world. Maybe, I think, at least we got the attention of the vast majority of people. But we got to turn it into results. Because, you know, don't get sidetracked. Don't buy the rhetoric. Don't buy the BS. Don't buy the con artists. Don't try to resist them tugging at your emotional heartstrings. Like I say, fly at 80,000 feet and look at the reality of the situation, and we'll all be better off. That'll do it for today. Mandatory, you're back here in 23 hours live. We're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
All right. Have a great night.
You got it.